So I want to talk about, let's say you imagine that you're profitable right now, making 30K a month trading every single month, and you're doing this full time. I want to think about, like, how can you break this down to understand how to get to that point easily? So why do people that actually make that much seem really relaxed in the market, even though they're dealing with that high amount of numbers, while, let's say, people on a 10K challenge seem like their whole day is ruined if they fail? The thing is, you actually have to understand that if you get to that point too quickly where you make a lot of money, that's not good for you at all, because you're not able to handle yourself or handle your emotions or handle that stuff properly. And the worst thing that can happen is to get to that point too early. But I want you to imagine, just close your eyes and imagine when you were younger, when you were a child or like a youth, you didn't have to care about your bills being paid, and you probably had high ambitions like myself, but you didn't know exactly what you were going to do, like with your career, how to actually make that money. You may have been thinking about entrepreneurship, starting a business, or going into another field, but you didn't know exactly what it was. Think about how powerful, how empowered, how good you felt, because you weren't operating out of fear. You weren't afraid. You thought about opportunities, and you didn't think about a bill that has to be paid or whatever. But then when you become older and you go into trading, you operate out of like fear and the desire to achieve something or to acquire something. The thing is, that completely controls everything in your life. Like, most people, before they work on themselves and go through that journey, they let trading have so much control over them. And that's been the case for me as well. Like, the last years that I've been trading, I've always thought about the week, instead of thinking it's Monday, it's Wednesday, I've been thinking about it based on the market, based on the charts. Like, okay, it's Wednesday, I didn't get a setup yet. Now I probably won't get one until next week. And then at that point, you don't even appreciate the days, the week, other stuff in your life even, because you think so much about the markets. And that's actually a good thing, because that's completely normal. And everyone here knows that just on one funded 100K account, you can make 3K on a good trade. So obviously you would think about the market, you would think about the next trade. That's completely normal. And you're probably going to do that for a few years until you get to a point where you understand why you think that way. You think that way because that you're not completely confident in yourself to trade the market yet. You're not completely confident that you know what you're doing then, and that you can always go in a new day, a new week, and find a good setup. Because once you get to that point, you don't stress that much about it yet. It's only because you know deep down inside that you're not completely there yet. That's why you think so much about it. Because as any other resource that we have and we take for granted, we don't second guess it or think that much about it. Like water, hopefully a lot of people watching this have access to their fridge, just grabbing some food. And if you're not, then I hope you make it in trading, because we're all going to make it here. But things we take for granted, we don't care, we don't think that much about it. It's just like, yeah, it's there, like it's nice. And that's the thing with trading, is that a lot of people don't feel like they're able to go in just a new casual week and grab something good from the market. That's why they stress so much, because they feel like they're not there yet. But and also just like you feel like you don't get enough setups, so it becomes too boring. Obviously that's not good either. If you just get 1 or 2 setups a month, for some people that works, but for a lot of people that's really boring. But once you've figured all of that stuff out, then you don't care that much. And the way you actually figure that out is to just focus on find a pair and a session that works really good for your mind. And that's the thing, not all pairs or indices or sessions work for everyone. Some people would just trade horribly certain pairs, certain sessions, while you might find something else that works really good for you. Once you find that, then just focus solely on that pair, that session. Why? Because trading in itself, after you learn about the concepts, the SMC, the ICT, whatever you need to learn, and you fully understand that, at that point, that's just muscle memory. You don't even need to think about that anymore. You just know. You know what a fair value gap is, you know what a liquidity sweep is, you know what a market structure shift or a break of structure is. Like, you don't need to think more about that. At that point, you need to understand the market, the patterns. You need to understand the patterns, and you need to understand if this happens, then this is going to happen. You can't like guess what's going to happen. You have to understand the pattern, and that's it. Once you get to that point, then you will find something that works for you. Your strategy is probably going to be unique to you, and really few people are going to have the same strategy as you, because there is no perfect strategy. There is just a perfect strategy for you, and you need to develop that for yourself. I've been trading profitably for a long time, and I've traded different pairs, different sessions, different strategies. But what those strategies have in common is that they were developed only by me, from no one else, just me. And they came after observing one pair, one session for at least 6 months, before I had a really strong strategy on that pair. It took me at least 6 months observing that pair before I was really confident. And why? Because a strategy in itself is useless unless you know what to expect of the market as well. You can't just have a strategy written down from the best mentor, the best trader in the world, and expect that it's going to work for you. You need to trade something that you understand yourself. If you don't understand what you're trading, then just forget it. And that comes from observing that pair, that session for a long time. At that point, it's almost like you don't even need to think about a strategy anymore. You just know, like, you don't need to look at a written strategy. You know specific days that you can go in when you see a specific pattern, and you trade that. And that's pretty much it. Once you get to that point, you don't need any Discord, any like whatever. You just go in, and it's really simple. That's pretty much it.